Well, you know what? What is a joke is those earphones you're wearing. that is a joke. Did you get it for at a £5 pound or a pound shop in the UK?
Okay. Well, as you can hear, the episode has started, guys. And Schalk's already taking the piss out of me. Now, I bought these. These are Beats Solos, and I bought them in America. Because
two for the price of one.
It was. They were cheaper. Listen, we drove 75,000 kilometers, so I could save $12 on the fucking Beats. Anyway, listen, I think this is episode 12 or 13. Two legends today. Schalk Brits and Piere Stradum.
There's only one legend. Sorry to interrupt you, Jay. That's Piere is the legend, and I am the has-been rugby player.
Are you joking, Brew?
Schalk, I'm close to there as well.
Listen to me. It's not often. I mean, we had Grant Holloway on last week, and he's world 110-meter champion. But we've literally got a Rugby World Cup champion on here, right? That's what we've got here, Piere.
Yeah, I know. Springbok World Cup.
100%.
Well done, Schalk.
And between the two of you, I'd like to know who's getting more jabs in the face.
Well, who had the most jabs? That's definitely.
Yeah.
I've got a murmai gesiggie. For people that doesn't know what that means, is this face was actually extremely good looking till I've started playing rugby. And as a hooker, Jay, you have to get under the skin of the opposition. And of course, I can.
Most hookers have to do that.
Yeah, and I mean, I tried to follow suit of very tough hookers. I'm actually extremely soft, but I've got a loud mouth. And I can remember playing for the Lions against the Bulls, and of course the opposition locks was Bakkies Botha and Victor Matfield. And of course, my first year being a 22 or 23-year-old young hooker, long hair, living the life, Don Juan. I thought I was Don Juan. They opened me up. Yeah, I went off the pitch, got back on, opened me up again, and it was just it was a welcome to the big league, puppy.
And they do all of this. Well, none of us can see it.
100%. It's like it's almost like a late nights in places that I've been to in my life.
Bangkok.
Nobody knows what happens after 12, right?
Listen to me. Let's get a few little bit of housekeeping things out the way here. So I was staying at Pierre's house before this year's Met. And he needed to get down to 57 kilos to ride the horse. So he had water and a few other things. What did you eat before the Rugby World Cup final in 2019? How did you prepare for that shit?
I think it is the normal, how can I say, dinner before any kind of game, or even the game before the day, a couple of hours before the game. It's the normal go-to is still spaghetti and bolognese, weirdly enough.
Seriously?
That's the one thing I will never miss as a rugby player, is having hotel spaghetti bolognese. And
I thought you were going to tell me that Rassi's come up with this new concoction and he's fucking infusing penne pasta with yellowfin tuna from the Arctic Ocean or something. That's why you explained so well.
Well, the problem is in 2019, right, we get to Japan and it's extremely humid. It's probably 100% humidity and it's 40 degrees. It feels like you're sitting in a sauna running around. And I think in the first training session when we got there, if people watch Chasing the Sun, I think of the first one, the guys lost between 5 and 8 kilograms just on one training session.
Sure.
So like everyone is like, super, especially the coach is super sensitive about us losing that amount of weight in a training session, because that was extreme, because you weigh in almost like the jockeys before and you weigh in after, right, to make sure that you are in pristine condition for the next session. So like the guys lose a lot of weight, and funny enough, everyone picks up weight at the end of the weekend. Like you play during the week, you lose all that weight, and you keep on gaining weight, and nobody can understand what's happening. Eventually, they come to the realization it is not the training that's forcing us to put on weight. It's all those Japanese rice, and they just gave us Japanese food for the first week, and everyone was eating this rice, and the rice is so delicious with this. I can't remember what the Japanese meat was called, but it was
whale.
Probably one of the
whale.
Yeah, well, I don't know, maybe, but it was extremely fatty. It was as Wagyu, but they call it something different, but it's unbelievable. And eventually, after the first week, the dietitian and Rusty says, listen, we need to go back to our own diet. We can't eat this food. I'm going to have overweight players. And it's, but I must say, for getting back to your first question, it's every player, and through the years, it has changed. At one stage, they want us just to have like pizzas before the night before. Then they changed it, and we had to have like proper chips, like, you know, this fish and chips kind of thing. And it goes through different iterations in my life. Well, I played for 20 years, but I mean, I just love my spec bowl.
But Piere, you guys are completely different, huh? Like literally, like it couldn't be more different.
Well, I mean, we can sometimes eat what we want, but obviously small portions. But when you need to diet, normally the night before, like soup works for me because it's liquid, and I'll carry on with water during the night, and then when I wake up the next morning, I'm already a little bit lighter because I mean, just when you sleep and you wake up, you're a little bit lighter, and then I would just cut water. Don't drink water, don't drink any liquids. If I'm still too heavy, I'll jump in a hot bath. I've tried a sauna many times and it just doesn't work for me. I can't lose the weight I need to, and I feel completely like I'm gonna pass out. You know, I feel like really flat. But if I have a bath, it seems to work better for me. I mean, you still feel it if you ride 2 or 3 races and it's hot and humid out there. You know it's going bad when your ears start blocking because you're now dehydrated completely.
Yeah, 100%. Now, talking about riding races, the legend that is Schalk Brits has ridden at Greyville.
Well,
really?
firstly, before you jump to that thing, while on my wrestling days, this is now late 80s, early 90s. We had to weigh in beforehand, and every Friday night you come weigh in under a certain weight, and the only way, old school, how do you lose weight is you put on black bags. We had to run with black bags and to lose weight. And what was funny about it, sweat. And now with the UFC fighters, like Drickus prepared, but it's a bit more sophisticated. They put them in these chambers, these sweating chambers. And you can lose 5 to 6 kilograms within a day on those things. You must see Drickus's weigh in before the fight and then the day of the fight. And then they pick up that weight again. But you had to, so it's changed significantly. You still have to sweat a lot to get the weight down. But I don't know always how healthy that is.
Yeah.
So listen, sorry, go on.
And unfortunately, I was famous for running with black bags around the race course. I mean, you actually, some guys even ride track work in the mornings with sweat stuff on, and then when they finish, they jump in a car, and then they put on a heater and they drive home, for instance, and all you do is just sweat, and it's horrible, it's terrible. But sometimes you have to
listen to this, right? In sports administration, sometimes you get decision makers that have a stroke during a decision. So a few years ago, the administrators of horse racing... Are you
joking or are you serious?
And the administrators of rugby decided to let the Springbok team ride thoroughbred racehorses at Greyville.
Poor horses.
You couldn't make it up, right? And Schalky is one of them. So I don't know which horse. I don't know which horse he rode, but I know that it took him a long time to get his balls back down.
No, and not just that, they had to wash the horse afterwards, because I was relieving myself on this horse, because look, it was like let's build rugby, let's get into the racing community, and it was like the game we played against the Sharks, and they said, okay, let's get some old guys and get some current players. So I mean, guys like Jeremy Thompson was there, John Allen was there. Now I can think John Allen's a big boy. Myself at that stage, I was probably close to 100 kgs, and they gave us these horses to ride on. But I mean, the jockeys, how they sit on a horse is like this, right? And not as a kid going to a farm every now and then, you know, that's a totally different position, because where your feet is on a racing horse is different to just riding a horse.
Yeah.
And we got in this, so it was a great competition the day. They gave us like a shortish course, of course, past the main stand. But the one problem that I had there is I never, firstly, feel uncomfortable. You're never in a comfortable position sitting on that horse, because you feel like this, not as stable. And secondly, those horses do not stop for anything. I mean, I pulled as hard as I can on, what do you call it in English? Those
the reins.
Yeah. And it ran a whole lap with me, and eventually getting back to the start almost, I just jumped off and said, oh my goodness, here I go. And I just jumped and did like a recce roll. But it was one of the scariest things I've ever experienced, because I felt out of control.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we professionals, and we do it almost every day, and we still get horses that bolt with us. It's basically, if a horse knew how strong it was, no one would stop it. I mean, you can pull as hard as you want. They just keep going, you know. So that's why we hope when we ride horses,
in the spirit of what Schalk did for rugby on horses, are you prepared to go to Stellenbosch soon and then just get tackled for an hour?
Right. I watched the Rugby World Cup in 1995 in Alberton Municipal building or the hall, and it was halftime, and there were about 12 of us standing around. In fact, my ex-brother-in-law Louis Glistian was there as well. And we decided we are now going to scrum. And I mean, it was really stupid of me to try and get in the scrum, because the other guys were a bit big, and they pushed us right through the glass doors, and we went flying. So walked away luckily with nothing serious, but I realized how strong those boys are.
Yeah. But listen, something could have gone really wrong with these oaks on these horses, eh? I mean, I don't think they're ever going to do this again. I don't think it was the greatest idea. Or I don't think it was the greatest promo idea of all time.
Yeah, because, you know, horses sometimes want to run out the gate. You know, if you can't stop the horse and it's going flat out, I mean, we sort of expect certain things to go wrong. But if you don't know and they're going flat out, you could seriously get hurt.
Yeah. Well, so the other thing,
Jay, where the people seriously got hurt, I think, was not on the horses. Was it what's the place called? 80s. It felt like horses getting out there late at night, but that happened about 11 to 1 o'clock. That was chaos. That was there was a lot and for more
people. For people.
How did your legs feel? How did your legs feel after it?
At 8, when we were thrown out of 80s, or when we
no. Riding the horse.
For those people watching that don't actually know, right? I mean, Schalk is also a legend, right? But he is, I don't know why he doesn't do the after dinner speaking, because he's really awesome. And we've known each other for a long time. And obviously, he's very graciously given us his time today. And he's got a lot of very funny stories. I'm going to ask him to tell one or two. One I've heard quite a few times, and I love it. But the other dynamic we've got going here, we've got to talk a little bit about sport. We've got a sport here where Piere completely focuses on his own craft only. and then we've got a team sport, right? Where you prepare to run through walls for the guy next to you. Hey, Schalk?
Yeah, correct.
You know what I mean? And it's just, sport has this amazing way of catering for everyone, right? Pierre's just said he could never ever. He probably did play rugby at school, but you know, Piere was basically born on a horse in Port Elizabeth. I mean, not like Jesus, born in a stable, but pretty close. And his father was a trainer, and I mean, from the moment he started riding, it was just like super impressive to watch. When did you kick in? When did it become obvious to your folks or whatever that, hey, this light, he's good. He can play. He's going to go forward.
Who are you asking the question now?
To you, Piere was from when he was born. Oh, he's gone.
It wasn't actually, for me, it was actually only sort of after university, you know, going like not every, I'm generalizing here, but as a young kid growing up, you played in the garden and everybody wanted to be either
Last Porter.
Well, I never wanted to be Nas Porter, that I can factually say. But either Donnie or Uli Schmidt or Kobus Burger, call it who you want. Everybody had a hero and you pretended to be that specific hero while you were playing. Like now I think my boys want to be Sia or Cheslin or Andre. Or, I don't have big boys, but I mean the kids that I play with that's friends of my sons, they want to be someone. So they put on the shirt, they want the number 10, like my boys love Andre Pollard and Jesse Creel. They just love those boys. So they pretend they are them. And then sort of my progression as kids, I always played rugby. I loved it. And I did all kinds of sports, from rugby to wrestling to surfing to name it, cricket, tennis, the general sports. And although I was born in Mpangeni, but I went to school in Park Primary in Mossel Bay. That's in the southwestern Cape. Then moved to a school because in Stellenbosch called Polroos. But we were actually, the reason why we went here was there was a good wrestling club in Polroos, and the school still is a fantastic school. And so, although you played provincially through your rugby career, and I got my first contract from Western Province Rugby Union and played junior Springboks and all those things, I never sort of thought as a professional career. Yes, you want to wear the Western Province or Stormers shirts and you wanted to be a Springbok, but making money out of it has never crossed my mind at that age. And although I got a contract when I was 17, the idea was actually, now I can tell my parents to get off my back. I can pay for my studies. I can do with my money and with my studies and sort of my life what I want. And so when I finished my studies at Stellenbosch, although I don't look like it, I studied management accountancy. When I finished, I thought, okay, let me give rugby a go for 1 year where I don't have to study. I can go to the gym and I can do that. And sort of it kicked off from there more or less. And so the
so
1 year
you didn't do articles. You didn't do Craven Week and all that stuff?
No, I did. You do Craven Week, you do SA schools, you do SA under 19 tour to France, and we went to Wales. And that was phenomenal. But making it as a profession is a totally different viewpoint, right? Maybe it has changed, or I know it has changed, because now even at the age of 13, they start picking players, giving them bursaries at 12, 13 to go to certain schools. I didn't ever think that I will make a living out of it, saying that. And although rugby only became professional at 96 really, my first contract was 99 at 50,000 Rand, and that was sort of enough to pay for my studies. Don't out of a loan to pay for my studies and varsity, and I can pay for my own beer, kind of thing.
Fantastic.
And so,
whereas you,
the point is what I wanted to get back to is money changes a lot of viewpoints a lot of times. And for me, is one thing that I've always kept very dear to my heart was why. And Simon Sinek, if you ever do a bit of reading, start with why. And my why was always, from a sports perspective or rugby perspective, do something you love. And rugby was always for me a great challenge and a great fun part of my life. That although I didn't took it too seriously, it was never my, can I say, my not my ownership. It wasn't my identity, if I can say that. It was just a part of my life. And so I was very lucky to be involved in extremely successful teams. I was extremely lucky, and I would say, to be in extremely unsuccessful teams. It teaches you a lot about yourself and friends and coaches and things like that. But rugby gave me so much that I'm so grateful of.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, look, I didn't really know that journey of yours because our relationship, hasn't been to delve too deep into the past. We've had more of a laugh, but it's interesting because a lot of people say, if you do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah. Schalk, I wanted to ask you a question. Why is home ground advantage? So why does it make such a difference? I mean, you're playing on grass, square, a rectangular field, but yet when you play at home, what's the difference?
It's funny. It's familiarity, I would say. It is home crowd makes a different impact. I mean, playing, for example, at Newlands, they don't play anymore. But I mean, have 50 or 60,000 people shouting your name or your team's name does have an influence. Going to the Bulls, playing against the Bulls, and eventually at the end of my career, I played for the Bulls. That made a difference. But it's all mindset, right? So I played for a club called Saracens when I was in the UK, and for almost a year and a half, we didn't have a home ground, and we still made the semi-finals and finals, although we never had a home ground advantage. And I think it comes down to mindset. And from that perspective, irrelevant, our viewpoint was exactly what you said. Irrelevant where you play, there's the white line. When you cross that is a rugby pitch. It is mostly, not all is standardized, but it is mostly the same thing. Although people will know the conditions a bit better if you play home ground. We always saw it as a way of getting out of your comfort zone. And if you first embrace that, and you've changed that mindset, you can play at any place. And so I think it's from team to team and from coach to coach and from culture to culture that makes an impact. And funny enough, if you take Saracens, when we eventually had our home ground, we didn't lose there almost for 2.5, 3 years at home. So it does play a significant psychological advantage. But I must say, when we played at Saracens, we had an artificial pitch. We trained on that artificial pitch that was quite different to any grass pitch. Now it's a bit different. There's a couple of clubs that does have artificial pitches, and that definitely gave us a competitive advantage on how the ball jumps, how you should scrum an artificial pitch different to a normal rugby pitch. But if you talk on grass, it is just, I think, is psychological, and of course, the other factors is crowds.
Yeah. Tell me, Schalk, is there a big in soccer, which I follow, I believe that we can now take a youngster and make him into a footballer. So if
what do you mean by that?
So I'm looking at a guy like Cristiano Ronaldo, who through eating and training has been able to have a career that wasn't necessarily blessed initially with the same amount of, let's say, God-given talent that maybe a Lionel Messi was. Okay, yeah. So I'm noticing more and more in football, and with better managers coming in and more tactics coming in. I mean, most goalkeepers now aren't just a goalkeeper. You know, most goalkeepers in soccer now are also a fullback. You know, we play up from the goalkeeper. When I played football, it wasn't like that. You know, you never. When I played football, if you passed the ball across your area, you got shouted at. Yeah. Now we play up from there. Fitness, diet, etc. You can almost take a guy. Look, I'm not saying they haven't got the skills, but you can almost take a guy and actually cut away some of those skills and say to him, "This is your role." Another great sport that does that is the NFL, right? Where we say to a guy, "This is your job, and we can mold you to that job." Is that happening in rugby? Are we getting manufactured players through fitness, diet, etc.? Or do you need it? Is rugby, because of its rules and whatever, do you actually have to fundamentally, totally love it and embrace it and understand it?
Well, it comes back to your first point. If you enjoy what you're doing, you don't work a day, right? So
yeah.
The first element there was a guy that came and spoke at Saracens called Matthew Said, and so he wrote the book 10,000 Hour Rule, and he wrote Black Box Thinking, and so he was a table tennis player. But getting back to his 10,000 Hour Rule is, you can, if you put hard work in for 10,000 hours, but effective hard work, you can sort of almost get to a point where you are extremely efficient in what you do. And surely there is the way the world has changed from or the sporting world, because that's more my knowledge, is you can really maximize a guy's potential by putting those hours in. What normally happens, unfortunately, is, and this comes down from parents to kids listening to parents and mentors, is because at an early age, we are very easy to say a guy's extremely talented, or he's got a gift for a particular sport. Unfortunately, talent takes you to a certain point, and then at a certain point, the margin of being great or margin being average is very small. And so when you keep on praising talent, talent doesn't work. And my belief is, if hard work outshines talent all day long, if talent doesn't work hard. And so getting back to sport, in essence, I actually only really knew how to work efficiently and hard in the right way only at 29. And I'm very I regret not working hard enough. It's not saying I didn't put in the hours, I didn't work clever. And when I got to an organization that is extremely efficient in how they train players, if you look, for example, now at Ireland, they don't have, Australia had that way back with the Olympics and with the rugby way back. They were extremely efficient in bringing talent through. You couldn't tell me that they had better athletes, they had better, just better talent in athletics or in sport, tennis or anything, but they had an unbelievable program. If you take back to British cycling, it is all about making sure the structures is in place for your talent to thrive. And so getting back to your point is, if the structures are fine and you've got a hardworking culture, they're treating people in a way that brings the best out of them, they can be extremely
efficient.
Efficient and effective, and it leads to performance. But the problem is, a lot of people, sorry, getting too deep into this, but a lot of people focus on winning. So winning is the end goal, right? But if you take winning away and you start looking at the processes and saying, okay, what should I do? Work it backwards, reverse engineering. What should I get to become successful? Not that I would be successful, but I need to make sure the diet is right, the training program is right, XYZ is right. Then results will come by itself. So I think that there's a lot of changes in the way people are focused and how they are trained and how they are managed, especially players. If I take in the beginning of my rugby career, they would push the living crap out of you, irrelevant of what the performance was this weekend. And especially if you lose, they will push you even harder, irrelevant of what happens the next weekend. Where it is, the way they are, look, there's different KPIs and different ways of analyzing performance. If they see, like, you've played the best, like, it's almost like that one clip that I saw about a coach trying to teach his 100-meter athletes, was he lost the race, but he ran a PB. And so you can't be disappointed that you lost the race. It is, yes, you ran your PB. Okay, how can we make you quicker and better? And so where's your weaknesses? And that's sort of the mentality. If you look at Racing, if you look at Saracens, the people that's process driven, although they want the result, they've got a bigger aim or bigger meaning than just winning a race. Then it becomes, and if you take it back to, sorry, I'm talking a lot now. If you take it back to the player, is forget about him playing for Barcelona or for Real Madrid or my favorite club, Arsenal. Forget about that. How can you make the player? I know I'm going to get that reaction. How can you make the player the best player he can be that will benefit the team? And from that perspective is optimizing the whole program from start to finish to start. And then, yes, the answer to your question is, can you make most players fantastic soccer players? Yes, I believe so. But unfortunately, not everyone's got the work ethic or the will to do that. And that takes an unbelievable amount of sacrifice. So, I mean, fair play to all those players that get there and still perform over extended period.
Yeah, because Piere, you know, when we spoke about your potential retirement, we actually had a conversation in Cape Town, didn't we? About how maybe we could set up something for you to manage these younger jockeys in the whole approach to their career, because they come out of the academy and they don't quite have the whole picture in front of them, do they?
Yeah, look, I mean, you're always trying to help the youngsters. Like for instance, in the jockey room, some youngsters will ask advice or ask questions, and you know, you freely give that to the youngsters, but some don't ask, some just don't. I don't know if they're not interested or they think they know more than you. But yeah, as older guys, obviously we are there to give our input. And look, I mean, I would have to join the academy to really become academy master to help the youngsters.
Yeah,
but,
sorry, carry on.
It's not something that I'm thinking of doing in the future now.
No, but I was just asking, do you think that horse racing has made the same progress that rugby has made and soccer has made, cradle to grave, basically, the whole journey? So, for example, I mean, I'm sure I'm going to ask Schalky just now, just to give us one little Rassie secret that nobody knows about. But I was very blessed to go to the Springbok Hotel the day before the final now, last year. Very blessed. There weren't many members of public there, but what I witnessed in that hotel was just complete comfort, complete ease. And I don't know Rassie at all, but I got a feeling that there's a culture of when it's time to work, we work, but when it's time to relax, we relax. And what Schalk was saying in the old days, maybe if you lost a game, you trained harder the next session, and that might be counterintuitive to the modern athlete. So I don't know if young jockeys are getting the same, that horse racing has potentially got the same guidance now that football and all these other sports have got.
Well, I mean, we go to the academy and you're there on your own. I remember we were bullied badly when I went to the academy, and you're out there on your own, you know, and you're hoping that you've got talent. You're hoping someone sees that you've got talent, and then they start supporting you. But if things don't go right, you get criticized a lot. You know, every day we ride these horses. I mean, I went to the academy. I was 14 and I weighed 28.5 kilograms. Now, how do we control these animals? You know, so it's danger every day. Getting up early, riding 4 or 5 hours of just horses. You're exhausted, and then obviously you get to the next level where you now are going to start riding in races, and you know, very quickly people will judge you. I get judged every day, even now that I've ridden a lot of winners and I've been champion jockey and I've been successful, yet there are still people that can criticize me. He's never ridden a horse, and that's something that they say you must live with it. I can't live with it. I can't accept people who don't know how to ride a horse criticizing me. Tell me what you think, but don't criticize me for something that you've got no idea about. So that's very hard for us to overcome. Maybe jockeys need to go to psychologists to help them. I know some jocks have had people, help them and talk to them and make them positive. But at the end of the day, it's tough out there. Dog is dog, and the minute things don't go right, someone takes your spot, and you get lost in the system.
Yeah, probably the same in rugby. Probably the same, but
no, it's not.
It's not.
No, I would say the only thing that was similar was probably the early 2000s. It was a hard culture. You get in, you get initiated, you treat you mean to keep you keen. I think where it's gone now, it is now where, especially with the Springboks, and I can say Stormers, Saracens, is you're trying to get the younger kids through the system and be quite helpful. Because, my belief was if the IP that I've got, and it comes down to remuneration, it's a team sport, right? And definitely with in the Springbok environment as well, is if the team's successful, you will be successful financially as well. It's not one guy's going to win the World Cup. It is all 33 that is now involved is going to win the World Cup. And so from that perspective, if you've got a growth mindset firstly towards the team and secondly to yourself, because I want competition. I want to play against the best and learn from the best. And and the same is with the younger kids. And unfortunately, it comes down to entitlement and making sure that you are not bigger than the game. We keep on calling this because one thing Rassie did extremely well. I can remember 2018 when we got together. He said, "I will not pick the best player, but I will pick the right player for this team, and I'll pick that will have a bigger impact on our team in a positive way than picking the right player, because the right player or the talented or best player might not always be the best for the team." And I don't know if it's in horse racing, it's an individual sport, is different to where our
completely different,
worked in, is because I've played with players that was extremely talented, but extremely devastating within a team environment. And they should have been rather, because yes, it's great to have a great player with you, but over time, it diminishes the team environment, it diminishes the team spirit, it's a slag on the team, right? You know, the guys are talented, but you only play for 80 minutes on a Saturday. Then you have to be in his company for the rest of the week. And for guys that proper donkey, then you definitely don't want to. And unfortunately, last thing I will say is, rugby is a physical sport. You have to sacrifice yourself for yourself, but for the guy next to you. And if the guy next to you doesn't do the same, or you feel he doesn't want to do the same, you go, stuff him. I'm not going to look after him, or he's not going to look after me when things go badly. And so if you've changed that mentality where it's more about us and not just you, or just not about me, then that combined effort, or that combined feeling, whatever, the synergy between the team, the 1 + 1 doesn't add up to 2, then it adds up to 3. And the most successful teams where I was involved with there was compassion towards each other. There was a caring viewpoint towards each other, because you understood the guy next to you, you understood his past, you understand his present, you understand you know him as a person, he knows you as a person, and that takes a lot of time.
Is that Rassie's best attribute? What he got? Because you're still talking as if you're living this whole thing right now, right? You really bought into this, and we as fans, we see that with the cup, right?
So the cup wasn't the aim. Everybody thinks
exactly.
It is the bigger thing was the first meeting, as I said, when we got together, it was making sure we've got the right group of players together, the right team. It doesn't say
The cup will come. Let's just do this right.
Yeah. So the point is when you've got the right players, that is firstly not entitled, because unfortunately the world has changed. It's the younger generation, I would say, and I'm generalizing now, has got different aims and different viewpoints than I've got. And I've got probably different viewpoints that you've got. But the point is, we have to have the same. No, just in general. But we have to have this. We have to have the same value sets. Now, if we've got the same value set, we can work together in principle based, right? So when you've got this right group together that wants the Springboks to be successful, not just myself, then we can work together. Then secondly, when we got into the World Cup, yes, the plan wasn't well. We knew we had a chance to win the 2019 World Cup, but the probability of winning it was very small, Jay, because at that particular time, it was shown that a certain amount of caps and a certain amount of experience and a certain amount of players and a certain amount of time together was one of the KPIs that would determine success. Yes, we got lucky in the 2019 World Cup. We didn't bat as hard a road to the World Cup, I would say, to 2023, or not even remotely as close. We won a World Cup. But there's certain things that was crucial to our success, is the belief that it wasn't about winning a World Cup, and it was about giving hope. It was about South Africa, from our viewpoint, had so many issues. There was conflict in our country between different races. There was between different religions. And for us, our viewpoint wasn't winning a World Cup. It was about giving hope. What was the hope for? It was irrelevant, once again, of the color of your skin, where you grew up, what religion you support, what all those things. We thought, is we're going to show the world and South Africa, especially more focus on South Africa, because that's where we wanted to install hope, is that I've got a CEO here that was born in the Eastern Cape. I had on the left side of it, Dwayne Vermeulen from Nelspruit. We had Cheslin Colby. We had, just all walks of life, and we can work together and be successful. And so from that perspective, our aim was not just winning a World Cup, but rather giving hope to our country. And so that was the secret sauce within the right environment. And of course, you can't have any success without discipline, hard work, and the other part I would say is the human element, where you care for each other. And it's not last thing, it's not just that. It is, I'm not still feeling that I'm there. It is a life philosophy now. And when I was in my 20s, I was an extremely selfish guy because it was about me. And Jay, the one thing I would say that changed my viewpoint, I can remember being with, this is now years and years ago, John Smith was captain, and I couldn't understand why I couldn't get into the team. And I was like, why can I get in? Being from a statistical background, I'm like, I've got more runs, I've got more meters, I've got more steals, I've got more tackles, I've got more this, X, Y, Z. My line-out percentage is almost exactly the same as the other hookers. Scrumming, what's 10 kilograms? I was 10 kilograms lighter than the other hookers. That equates to less than 1% in a scrum. And the funny thing is, speaking to John, I'm like, John, why can't I make the team? And this is all my stats. I don't have to play, but I'll be on the bench. I'll be an impact player. And the interesting part was the next sentence. Scala, you're an extremely talented rugby player. You're a great rugby player. But the problem isn't that. The problem is the following. Can you tell me what is Johan Miller's wife's name? What is Albert van den Berg's kids' names? Who is XYZ? And I said, I don't know. He says, that's a problem, because it's about you and not the team. And so from that perspective, my viewpoint changed then. That is, to be successful in life, to go alone, you go quick. And when you go with people, you go far. And so that's a very early lesson I learned in my life. And so my viewpoint from now on is not about me, it's about us. And so I've always taken that lesson through, from the age of then I was 27, 26. And at 20, people are very driven and extremely. They just don't. I didn't have the EQ, although I thought I had, but I didn't.
Is it good? Okay, Piere?
Very interesting. I've got nothing to say. I'm just listening.
It's good, eh? Yeah, listen. Okay, look, we've been nearly an hour. Schalk, do me a favor. The last story. I've heard it so many times. I love it. The two things that you Oaks did in 2019. The one with the snuff and Rassie getting a bit zonked out. And then tell us what game you Oaks played on the aeroplane on the way back.
I'll tell you the second one. So I made a cardinal. So after the World Cup, I think nobody thought we're going to make the final. Firstly, no one thought we were going to win the final. And then after the so we had won the final, we didn't sleep much, probably an hour or two. So we went all through the night, probably went to bed at about 4 or 5, up at the next morning at 8 o'clock, because we had to be at the World Rugby Awards. Now, arrived at the Rugby World Cup Awards, and of course, Peter Steff was named as the best rugby player of 2019 of the tournament, and Rassie won Coach of the Year, and we had to celebrate that, of course, as well. So it is that became a very big night. So Saturday, Sunday, and the reason why I said they didn't probably think we're going to make the final or win the final was we had to fly back in 4 or 5 different routes in different groups. Of course, some of us flew. I think we had 4 or 5 connecting flights from somewhere in Japan or Tokyo to via. There was so many different flights, but of course with these things we got a bit super excited, and so we had 4 different legs, and they said, okay, the first leg sleep, second leg awake, third leg sleep, fourth leg awake. And of course, the first leg, we almost lost a couple of people on the Sunday night in Tokyo. And no names will be mentioned that almost missed their flights, and we couldn't find some of them. We celebrated to the max. One thing is you work hard, but you play hard as well.
Yeah, 100%.
And on my flights,
Pierre's good at celebrating, by the way.
Yeah, and so the first 3 flights was we stayed awake and just partied and played music, and it was just havoc, and if I may say that, on business class. Now the 4th flight was from Abu Dhabi to Joburg, and so we got to Abu Dhabi extremely excited still, and we are still on emotional highs. It's extremely difficult to explain. And we got on the flight, and I'm like, oh my goodness, we stayed awake for a very long time, from Saturday, Sunday. Now it's, I think, Monday or Tuesday, I can't remember. It's still a blur from now. So in rugby terms, I thought a great way of calming things down is everyone had they gave us some sleeping tablets and some muscle relaxants. And so, of course, I said, well, while we are trying to get something more calm, let's play games with these kind of things. And of course, I made the mistake of taking charge, and I'll take that on my own bats. I didn't know the effect that a sleeping tablet, a muscle relaxant, and a whiskey or two can have on you. And so it was a complete pandemonium when we got to Joburg. So we couldn't get people almost off the flight, and some of the boys couldn't do interviews when we got to Joburg. So from that perspective, it was a complete it was bad from I'll take responsibility for that, but it was totally shambles. It was like a nightmare trying to carry people off because they can't move. You can't wake them up, and I didn't know that. Well, I've learned my lesson that I'm not a guy that use tablets or drink tablets. That muscle relax. For everyone listening to this, combination of muscle relaxant, sleeping tablets, and alcohol is the worst thing you can ever do. Do not do that.
And the World Cup.
Yeah, that is 100%, and a lack of sleep for 3 days in a row, 4 days in a row.
So, Piere, what would you do when you won the July, or when you won? Actually, you did a similar thing. You won on JJ the jet plane in Hong Kong. What did you guys do the night after, or that day? How did you celebrate?
Well, there was a whole group of us. Remember, a couple of owners, and we just walked through the town. You know, Hong Kong, you can actually walk through like shopping areas and restaurants and all that. So we just walked around and ate and drank wherever we found something to drink, and yeah, we just hung out together, and it was just fun. I mean, but we didn't
I've seen you do the dance. You didn't do a bit of dancing, no?
No, not in front of the Hong Kong people. They didn't appreciate it.
Can't Piere show us the dance?
You can. So he's just down the road from you, Schalk, by the way. Next time I'm in Cape Town, we all get together. Pierre's got a house in Constantia. I would put out the...
Oh, it's not a house, it's a mansion.
It is a mansion. It is a mansion. Okay, guys, listen, thanks for today. It's been good. That's going to give our viewers a little bit of an insight into the Rugby World Cup and Schalk and Piere again, and we've asked some questions. These podcasts are getting better and better, so thanks, brother, for coming on and doing this with us. I'll see you soon. I'll be in Cape Town next week. Piere?
Thank you, Schalk. All the best, eh? And
Piere, can I just for all the listeners out there, please, can we start a GoFundMe page for Jay's earphones? Because, oh my goodness, it looks shocking.
You're such a...
Bye.
Yes.